There are moments in life when you catch yourself pausing, as though something familiar has slipped just out of reach. You might walk into a room and feel an eerie sensation that you have stood in that exact place before, heard that exact voice utter those words, or sense a faint perfume of memory that doesn't quite belong to your current life. We dismiss these moments with casual labels like déjà vu or coincidence, but deep down we wonder, what if they are whispers from another world? Worlds running alongside this one, layered like unseen pages in the book of existence? The phrase, the secret shift, you're already living in a parallel universe without realizing, suggests not that you might one day enter such a reality, but that you already have. The shift is not looming in the distance. It has already happened. You are standing in its wake now, perhaps blind to its contours, perhaps numb to its implications, but breathing its air nonetheless. The walls that separate realities are thinner than you have been told, and every choice, every thought, every heartbeat is already reverberating across countless universes. The secret lies not in their existence, but in your awakening to them. To glimpse this possibility is to begin unraveling the tight weave of the ordinary. The everyday world insists on solidity. Chairs hold your weight, clocks tick forward. Words written yesterday remain where they were inscribed. The mind craves this continuity, for without it, how could we plan, remember, or trust the fabric of our lives? And yet science itself hints at another layer beneath this comforting consistency. Quantum physics reveals particles that exist in multiple states at once, collapsing into certainty only when observed. String theory speaks of dimensions hidden beyond perception, vibrating with possibilities we cannot yet touch. These are not mere curiosities for physicists, but doorways to a radical truth. Reality itself is not singular, but a spectrum, and consciousness may be the traveler moving between its unseen corridors. The secret shift is subtle because it does not announce itself with fireworks. You do not wake up one morning to find the sky green and the oceans red. Instead, it reveals itself in the quiet cracks of experience. The song you swear never existed until today, the road that feels longer than you remember, the friend who recalls an event differently than you do. These anomalies, often brushed aside, may be the fingerprints of movement between parallel currents of existence, like crossing a river on stepping stones. You may already have shifted from one flow to another without ever noticing the splash beneath your feet. But to call it a shift is not to imply randomness. It is guided, sculpted by the choices you make and the beliefs you hold. Imagine life as an infinite branching tree, each decision carving a new path. Every yes and no, every hesitation and leap creates ripples that extend into worlds you will never consciously visit, but which nonetheless exist as real as this one. Yet within this branching, there are also subtle currents of alignment. When you follow the whisper of your heart rather than the dictates of fear, you may sense yourself sliding toward a universe where the air feels lighter, where synchronicities multiply, where meaning unfurls like a hidden map. And when you betray yourself, when you shrink back from the call of your deeper knowing, you may tumble into a denser branch, a version of reality where everything feels slightly heavier, slightly out of tune. To realize that you're already living in a parallel universe without realizing is to awaken to the possibility that your life is not static but fluid. The version of you reading these words is not the same as the version who woke this morning. Though you wear the same body and recall the same memories, you have already shifted, subtly, silently, into a nearby current. You are already proof of parallel worlds because the self you were yesterday no longer exists except as a ghost, and the self you'll be tomorrow is already waiting in another universe for you to arrive. This truth is both liberating and terrifying. If reality is not fixed, then destiny is not written. You are not trapped in a single timeline, condemned to its limitations. There is always another path, another unfolding, another you living just beyond the veil. But it also means responsibility. Every thought, every act, every refusal to listen to your inner knowing nudges you toward one reality or another. You are not a passive observer. You are the axis upon which worlds turn. The secret shift is not happening to you. It is happening through you. Religions and mystics have long hinted at this in their own language. The Buddhist concept of endless rebirth, the Hindu vision of infinite universes dancing within Brahman, the Gnostic idea of layered heavens, all echo the intuition that existence is not one but many. Even the language of dreams carries this hint. For in each dream you are fully immersed in another world, complete with its own laws and stories, until you awaken into this one. What if waking life is no different, but the awakenings are so subtle, so constant, that you do not notice? What if you've been shifting realities your entire life, mistaking the continuity of memory for evidence of a single stream? The introduction to this exploration is meant to plant a seed, not to hand you a map. For there is no single map that can chart the infinite. Instead, there is the invitation to begin noticing, to look at your life not as a rigid line, but as a living current that flows in many directions at once. The secret shift is already here. You are already living it. The only question is whether you will open your eyes to its shimmer, to explore the secret shift. You're already living in a parallel universe without realizing is to move beyond the poetry of the idea and into its underlying architecture. At the heart of this vision lies several interwoven truths, threads that, when pulled together, reveal the hidden tapestry of existence. These themes are not abstract theories meant for quiet libraries or cloister halls. They are living principles that shape the way you breathe, choose, and move through the world each day. To recognize them is to reorient yourself within the cosmos, as though stepping from the shadows into a wider horizon of light. The first theme is the fluidity of reality itself. Most of us are conditioned to believe that the world is a solid object, immovable and external, existing outside of us with unchanging laws. Yet quantum physics reminds us that reality is a field of probabilities, not certainties, until consciousness interacts with it. At the smallest scales, existence is a dance of possibility, shimmering between forms until attention crystallizes it. What this means for you is radical. Reality is not fixed, it is responsive. Every moment is not a destination, but a branching, a shimmering fork where multiple universes unfold in tandem. You are not walking on a single road. You are standing at countless crossroads with every breath. Another guiding pillar is the centrality of consciousness. The universe is not merely a physical machine grinding out lifeless matter. Consciousness is not a byproduct, but a primary force, the lens through which reality takes form. You, as a conscious being, are not a passenger within a fixed cosmos, but a co-creator whose awareness helps decide which branch of the infinite you inhabit. This is why the secret shift happens so often without you realizing it. Because it is not a thunderclap from the heavens, but the subtle ripple of your own thoughts and choices adjusting the channel of reality. Just as a radio dial moves imperceptibly between frequencies until a station comes into clarity, so your consciousness tunes between universes until one timeline coheres into your lived experience. Then comes the principle of multiplicity. We tend to imagine reality as singular, one unbroken line of events leading from past to future. But if reality is fluid and consciousness selects its path, then there are not one but countless versions of you living countless variations of your life. Somewhere, another you is reading these words with a different interpretation. Somewhere else, another you never encountered this message at all. Every choice you have made, every yes and every no, has branched into another stream. You are not singular but infinite, existing across parallel worlds like reflections in an endless hall of mirrors. This multiplicity leads to another theme, the illusion of continuity. Memory convinces you that your life is a single thread, but memory itself is not a perfect recorder. It is a story woven each day to give coherence to your current state. When you shift into a parallel universe, the continuity of memory stitches itself seamlessly to hide the seam. You believe you have always been on this road, in this body, with this past. But small cracks appear. The book you recall differently than your friend, the historical detail that feels altered, the sensation of deja vu that makes your skin prickle. These are not malfunctions of memory. They are glimpses of the weave itself, places where the stitching of continuity falters, and you glimpse the parallel threads behind it. A further pillar is the role of choice and alignment. If consciousness tunes reality, then your choices are not trivial. They are levers of navigation. Every decision carries weight beyond the immediate outcome. To act from fear is to tune yourself toward heavier realities, where scarcity and struggle dominate. To act from courage and authenticity is to align with lighter realities, where synchronicity and flow abound. This is why inner integrity matters. The universe is not punishing or rewarding you, but responding to your frequency. When your inner world is divided, the shift carries you into fractured universes. When your inner world is aligned, the shift carries you into coherent universes. The secret shift is always happening, but the quality of the universe you inhabit depends on the energy you bring to each moment. The final theme is responsibility. To live unaware of the shift is to stumble blindly, carried into realities by the unconscious momentum of your thoughts and habits. But to awaken to the shift is to accept that you are not powerless. You are not a victim of a single destiny. You are an active participant in shaping which parallel stream you inhabit. This recognition strips away excuses, but grants profound freedom. You may not control every event within the universe you enter, but you influence which universe you step into. And within that truth lies both liberation and accountability. Together, these themes form the core architecture of the secret shift. Reality is fluid, not fixed. Consciousness is primary, not secondary. Multiplicity is real, not fantasy. Continuity is illusion, not truth. Choice is alignment, not randomness. And responsibility is empowerment, not burden. To hold these truths is to step into a different relationship with life. You begin to see the shimmer beneath the ordinary, the infinite hidden within the familiar. The question is not whether you have shifted. You already have countless times. The question is whether you will notice, whether you will awaken within the movement, whether you will claim the role of navigator rather than sleepwalker. The parallel universes are not waiting in the distance. They are here, brushing against your skin with every breath. When words and theories falter, stories step in to do the work of awakening. The truth that you are already living in a parallel universe without realizing is too slippery, too vast to grasp solely with intellect. But symbols, allegories, and parables speak to the deeper layers of mind, bypassing rational resistance and igniting recognition in the soul. To understand the secret shift not as a concept, but as a lived reality, we must enter into story. Imagine a library that stretches into infinity. Each book is your life, written in exquisite detail, every choice etched upon its pages. But there is not one book. There are endless volumes. One tells the story of you as a musician who never abandoned a guitar. Another as a traveler who boarded the plane you canceled. Another as a parent. Another as a wanderer. Another as a recluse. Another as a leader. When you live each day, it feels as though you are writing a single book line by line. But in truth, you're always stepping from one book to another. You carry the illusion of continuity because the binding feels the same. The ink smells familiar, but you may already be 3 shelves away from the story you think you are still telling. Consider also the allegory of the river of mirrors. A wanderer journeys along a river where the water reflects not only the present, but infinite variations of himself. In one reflection, he walks alone. In another, he carries wealth. In another, he is wounded. In another, he is crowned. Each reflection moves in real time, each equally alive. The wanderer bends a drink, and in that moment, the surface ripples. As he lifts his head, he no longer knows which reflection he inhabits. His clothes feel slightly different, the path slightly altered, yet the rhythm of walking continues. Such is the nature of the secret shift. The river never ends, the reflections never stop, and every glance into its water is both a reminder and a crossing. Or take the dream of the weaver. A woman dreams she sits before a vast loom, weaving strands of light into intricate patterns. Every choice she makes with her hands sends ripples across the fabric, and whole worlds bloom within it. She becomes so immersed in the weaving that she forgets she is the weaver and begins to believe she is one of the figures within the tapestry. She suffers, struggles, and rejoices as that figure, unaware that with each subtle movement of her forgotten hands, she is shifting which pattern she inhabits. When she finally remembers, even for a moment, she realizes she has never been trapped in a single image. She has been weaving the dream of countless lives all along. These stories point to a reality that cannot be measured by clocks or weighed on scales. They speak to the sense of déjà vu that startles you, the strange memory of a path you never walked, the uncanny recognition of a stranger's face. They whisper that you have crossed streams of possibility more often than you know, and that your life is not a single script, but a hall of interwoven narratives. Even ancient myths echo this truth. The Mayans spoke of multiple worlds, each destroyed and remade, not as sequential ages, but as overlapping layers of reality. The Norse told of Yggdrasil, the world tree, whose branches hold many realms connected at once. Hindu cosmology describes universes blooming like bubbles from the breath of Brahma. These are not primitive fables, but poetic expressions of what modern physics now intuits. Reality is not singular but manifold, and existence is not confined to one track of time and space. Think of your own life in symbolic terms. The memory you carry of a childhood toy you cannot find evidence of, maybe a page from another book. The sudden shift in atmosphere when you walk into a familiar place, maybe the river reflecting another version of you. The feeling of having lived another path. Perhaps as a painter, a lover, a wanderer. Maybe the weaver's tapestry tugging at your awareness. These are not mistakes of memory or imagination. They are echoes of the secret shift, reverberations from the countless universes brushing against this one. The deeper meaning of these narratives is not to convince you of literal mechanics, but to awaken a different way of seeing. Life becomes luminous when you recognize it as layered, pliable, and full of hidden doors. Every choice is not merely pragmatic. It is symbolic. Every moment is not merely linear. It is archetypal. The parallel universes are not elsewhere but here, folded within this one, shimmering just beyond ordinary sight. The secret shift is a reminder that you are not confined to a single thread of story. You are the library, the river, the weaver, forever crossing, reflecting, and creating. To speak of parallel universes and secret shifts may sound like the language of mystics or scientists cloaked in abstraction. Yet the true power of this awareness lies not in distant speculation, but in how it reshapes the way you live today. Once you begin to recognize that you are already moving between parallel currents of existence, the texture of your daily choices changes. Life no longer feels like a rigid line you are forced to follow, but a living canvas you are co-creating with every breath. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, and the practical becomes infused with the mystical. Think first of decision-making. In the old frame, you make choices as though they are heavy, permanent, and irreversible, locking you into one destiny forever. But when you understand the secret shift, you see that every decision is a navigation between streams of reality. To say yes to one path is to step into one universe. To say no is to slip into another. The weight of choices does not vanish, but it transforms. You no longer fear them as traps, but respect them as thresholds. You begin to act with greater intention, knowing that the quality of your choice determines not just your next step, but the universe in which you take it. This shift in perspective also reframes how you view failure. If every parallel world exists, then failure in one universe is success in another. The version of you who stumbled on a business venture lives alongside the version who triumphed. The version of you who lost love lives alongside the one who nurtured it into depth. What matters is not clinging to one outcome, but aligning with the stream that resonates with your heart. Even in moments of loss, you can sense the proximity of another path where the loss becomes a lesson, a door into a richer version of yourself. The sting softens when you realize that you are never truly trapped, for there is always another unfolding waiting just beyond the veil. The practical world of relationships is equally transformed. In the dream of a single universe, misunderstandings and conflicts can feel final, carving walls between people. But when you hold the secret shift, you see that every interaction is also a meeting of parallel selves. The friend who disappoints you today may, in another stream, be the ally who stands by your side. The lover who leaves you may, in another current, walk with you still. This awareness does not deny the pain of separation, but opens you to compassion. You begin to treat others not as fixed characters, but as fellow travelers who, like you, are weaving their way through countless threads of existence. Patience and forgiveness become easier, not because you excuse harm, but because you sense the larger tapestry in which every story is a fragment. Even the way you approach work, creativity, and ambition is altered. To live as though there is only one chance, one path, breeds fear and desperation. But to live knowing you are already shifting between infinite variations frees you to create without grasping. You write, paint, build, or innovate not to secure your worth, but to align with the version of yourself who is already living that reality. Every act of creation becomes an invitation, a resonance calling forth the universe where your vision is alive. You discover that effort and trust walk hand in hand. Effort to act in alignment. Trust to know the universe is already unfolding the parallel version of your dream. The implications extend even further, into the heart of suffering itself. Pain is real, but despair arises when you believe the pain is the only possible story. The secret shift reveals that there are universes where healing has already occurred, where strength has already been forged from struggle. When you hold this awareness, pain becomes less of a prison and more of a passage. You do not collapse under its weight, for you know it is not the only truth. You walk with it, learn from it, and in so doing you slide toward the universe where its lessons have already been integrated into wisdom. Even the way you see time begins to shift. Instead of linear march toward an uncertain end, you begin to feel time as layered, pliable, shimmering with possibility. The future is not a distant shore, but a parallel stream already flowing, waiting for you to step into its waters. This grants both urgency and peace. Urgency, because every moment matters. Peace, because no moment is final. You live with a paradoxical combination of reverence and ease, knowing each choice is sacred yet nothing is ever lost. To integrate this awareness is not to live in fantasy, but to deepen your engagement with reality. You still pay bills, raise children, and navigate traffic, but you do so with the quiet knowledge that every small act resonates across universes. You smile at a stranger and perhaps step into a kinder stream. You face a fear with courage and perhaps align with a lighter reality. You choose honesty over convenience, and the universe shifts to meet you with integrity. Life becomes less about controlling outcomes and more about aligning your inner state with the resonance of the world you wish to inhabit. The real-world implication is simple yet profound. You are never powerless. You may not command an entire dream, but you shape the direction of the shift. The world you live in today is not the only version available. The quality of your awareness, the courage of your choices, the clarity of your intention, all are steering wheels in a vast ocean of existence. And though you cannot see every parallel shore, you can feel the current carrying you toward one or another. To live awake is to steer with grace rather than drift in forgetfulness. To stand at the end of this journey is to face a truth that feels both intimate and infinite. You are already living in a parallel universe without realizing it. The secret shift has never been something waiting in the distance. It is a pulse of existence itself, unfolding with every breath you take. You are not a passenger bound to a single track, but a voyager moving fluidly across currents of possibility. Every moment, whether recognized or ignored, is an act of choosing, an act of aligning, an act of stepping into a new universe that waits for your presence to make it real. Reflect for a moment on how different your life appears through this lens. No decision is trivial, yet none is final. No failure is permanent, yet no success is absolute. Each is but a passage into another stream, one of infinite rivers flowing to the ocean of existence. The burden of destiny lightens when you realize you are not locked into one fate, and the weight of regret softens when you see that what you mourn is still alive in a parallel branch. You are, and always have been, a multidimensional being wandering to the corridors of possibility, writing and rewriting your story with every act of awareness. The call, then, is not to seek escape from this life into another. The call is to awaken within this life to the fact that it is already one of many, and that you are free to shape the direction of its unfolding. Awakening to the secret shift does not mean rejecting the ordinary. It means infusing the ordinary with wonder. Washing the dishes becomes a sacred act, for in that moment you may be stepping into a universe where gratitude and clarity bloom. Speaking truth becomes a gateway, for in that choice you may align with the reality where integrity is your anchor. Every act becomes luminous when you recognize it as a crossing point, a shimmering threshold where countless paths converge. This awareness carries responsibility, but not in the sense of a burden to carry. It is responsibility in its truest form, the ability to respond. When you know that reality responds to your consciousness, you are no longer helpless before circumstance. You may not control every wave that breaks upon you, but you are never without a rudder. Even in grief, you can choose to align with the universe where grief ripens into wisdom. Even in chaos, you can align with the stream where chaos becomes clarity. The world is not fixed. It bends toward the resonance you embody. And yet, The deeper invitation of the secret shift is not merely to navigate more skillfully, but to remember who you are. You are not just a traveler sliding across parallel streams. You are the dreamer in which the streams arise. You are the consciousness that makes the shifting possible, the still center around which the universes revolve. To awaken to the secret shift is to reclaim your role not only as participant, but as creator, not only as inhabitant, but as source. The transformational call is simple, yet it reverberates with power. Live awake. Do not sleepwalk through the dream of a single universe. Do not surrender your sovereignty to fear, nor your choices to habit. Notice the shimmer in the edges of experience, the subtle clues that you are already shifting. Choose with courage. Align with integrity. Step into each moment as though it is both fragile and infinite, both fleeting and eternal, because it is. And above all, carry wonder with you. For once you know the secret shift, the world is no longer ordinary. Every encounter is a possible crossing, every silence a hidden doorway, every heartbeat a ripple across universes. To live in this way is not to abandon the world, but to embrace it fully, to honor its depth, to walk through it as a lucid traveler who knows that the path is infinite, the self is boundless, and the adventure is only beginning. You are already living in a parallel universe without realizing. Now you do. Step forward, awake, into the universe that is waiting for you.